Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in, everybody. It is a Monday on Sports Daily. We're glad to be here with you on this Monday. Jacob Albracht, Tommy Castor alongside you. We got Jad Chambers driving the ship, man, in that IHOP hotline at 869-1240. That's the spot. You'll win some HTO later in the program if you continue to listen. We appreciate you being here with us today. Glad to have you with us today, both on the air here on KFH. Maybe you're streaming us at KFHradio.com. Maybe you're checking us out on our video stream that's available to you on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. Whatever it is you're doing to listen to us, we appreciate it. Glad to be here with you on a day where, well, we're all sort of watching the weather, right? Just getting some of the updated maps and risks and threats from the Storm Team 12 crew up there at KWCH, where I'll be later, and it looks bad. It looks like it's going to be a bad one. Of course, location is always everything, but we're talking like high risk of tornadoes, high risk of really large hail, and the Wichita metro is right on the fringe of the highest risk. But even if you're not in that, we're going to be in the high, not very high, but high. Either way, it's going to be rough. So just stay aware today. It looks like late afternoon into the evening is the time. Of course, you'll be able to keep up with it on all of our Odyssey stations here. KFH, KNSS will get you. We got a crew of people watching it here too, but just make sure you're tuning into something today and staying prepared to stay safe, as it's going to be one of those days across the region. Elsewhere, Tommy, it was a pretty standard May sports weekend. I got a little golf, got a little baseball, some NBA playoffs to digest a little bit. How are you this morning?
Man, I'm good. You mentioned the weather. I've been keeping an eye on it for the last few days. You live here long enough, and when you're from this area, you tend to follow it. And you tend to be pretty involved in all of that. And that's kind of, the way that I've been, for a long time. And so, yeah, I mean, I'll just echo what you said. It, has the potential to be a pretty rough day around our area as the day goes on, mid-afternoon to late afternoon into this evening. And you mentioned making sure that people are on top of it. I think that's really important in today's day and age. You've got multiple different ways to be able to receive that warning information, the alerts on your phone, TV, radio. I mean, all these different ways that you can gather that information. And so multiple ways to get it, and just be prepared to, take action pretty quickly if you need to later on today.
Yeah, hunker down. It'll come in from the west as it typically does. We'll have an idea. It's just one of those things where it's, the atmosphere is ripe for something bad. And hopefully we always make jokes like when we over prepare like this are the times that it doesn't quite get there. And I hope that's what happens today. I hope it doesn't quite get there, but it does look bad. We just want you to be aware of that.
Hey,
so stay tuned.
Little inside baseball that I've always been curious about. On a day like today, and you work for 12 News, what does your day look like? You're not the meteorologist, so what do you do? During a day like today?
My role now is more part-time. So probably for me, it's going to time out kind of to right when I'm there. I'll be on the 4 o'clock as I typically am now, and we'll be watching it. But, for me now, it's basically crews, but it's a weird dynamic for me because we've got these two businesses we've got to, be concerned about and all the employees. But, field crew day back in those days, you come and you just are prepared to go sleep in your car somewhere, basically, if you need to. The thing is, when these things happen and it's the worst of it, knocks out all the power. So, you're driving behind usually a dangerous situation, but the most dangerous part belongs to the storm chasers, to those trained individuals, the reporters and the field crews. We usually sort of circle in behind things and try and survey the damage a little bit. But it's all hands on deck. Everybody's on call. Everybody has the, possibility of going and being somewhere overnight. I have slept in my car twice in Eureka in recent years, most recently to the 2 times that town has been hit. So you just go. You just be ready to go. I remember the first Eureka tornado. I'm standing out in I was somewhere in Wichita. 10 o'clock show is starting, and I'm probably I don't know, 2 minutes out from a live hit on the story I had put together that day. The producer gets in my ears like, hey, you're going to need to break down and start driving toward Eureka. I'm like, my hit's in just a couple minutes here. Do you want me just in there? Like, nope, break down right now and
Wow.
start driving to Eureka. And we pulled up, and you couldn't see. It was the strangest thing, because at that point, by the time we got there, we'd heard about what happened, but you're pulling up on absolute darkness. Like this was late at night, which is what made that one so dangerous. But like, we couldn't see anything. You couldn't see anything. There was nothing there. We finally found people in the community had gathered at the community center. They couldn't see anything. They didn't know what was going on. And you go up to those scenes, and you please don't do this, by the way, because it's really dangerous to go follow the damage like that, because power lines go down. There are nails everywhere. We have had, I think, a couple of different times. The most common injury is people step on a nail, because they're, roofs get torn off. There's just nails everywhere. So just don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't kind of follow in, because it is pretty dang dangerous with power lines down and everything else when you go into those. But I hate them. I hate these days. We need the rain. So hopefully it's just noisy rain. We can hope for that, I guess, and just be prepared. That's all you can do, is be prepared. My wife, who's from California, these things used to, scare her to death. And I'm like, how do these scare you to death? Because here we've got this whole day to at least prepare for this. You live in the land of massive earthquakes, where they just like all of a sudden the earth cracks and there's a huge hole in the ground. Like, you can't do anything there. So at least we know today to be ready to, hunker down, get in the basement, go into the stairs, all these things. Like, that's, to me, that's way better.
Yeah. My wife,
I guess it happens more often.
My wife and I are both from Wichita, grew up here. And, like I mentioned, you live here long enough, you kind of get used to it, and it's not really a huge deal. However, our neighborhood was one of the neighborhoods that got hit in the Andover tornado 2 years ago. And that's the first time in my life that I've ever thought I'm losing my house. We're down in the basement, like just waiting for it to hit. And then we were fortunate that it was about a block away from us. From that point on, it gives you a different outlook on these things for both my wife and I. And I don't know, you can call it PTSD, you can call it whatever, but there's a little bit of like, all right, like we've been through that before, where, a lot of times it was like, yeah, bad weather, whatever. We're from Wichita, no big deal. You go through something like that, a couple of years ago, it does kind of change your outlook.
Our story is a little different. You and I live moderately close to each other. So we are on a dad's trip. I may have told this story before for that tornado. We're on a dad's trip in Oklahoma at the lake. And, by that point in the day, we'd been after it a little while, all day long. And so we're all sitting there, I think at that point, like mowing down some wings, having beers at some place. I don't even remember the name of the lake we were at, quite honestly. And everyone just starts to kind of get calls at the same time. And everybody's like mood just drops. And of course, everybody starts asking me, and I'm like, well, I can look at radar, but like, I'm not there either, but let's pull up the radar. And I'm getting videos from my neighbors of the tornado, and it looks like it's in the backyard. And I couldn't get a hold of my wife. Like, phones are down. Couldn't get a hold of her for hours. And so I'm finally like, I'm reaching out to my neighbors. I'm like, is our house like there? Like, are we good? Because we didn't know. Like,
yeah,
we're not in the right state of mind. All we're seeing is videos. We didn't know where this was. And everybody's families are panicking. None of the dads are there. And we're like, oh my God, what is happening right now? That was wild.
Yeah.
Different sort of PTSD.
Yeah.
Because I'm almost never home when these things happen. I'm always at work. I'm always at the station trying to chase these things and follow these things and do live streams and do all the things we got to do. So my terrified California wife is usually the one that's like stuck.
Got to hold down the
dealing
fort,
with this with the
make
kids.
Sure everything's okay.
They were like in the shower the last time that thing hit, and all were like running around through the house, naked kids, and just trying to like get everybody downstairs. It was wild.
And look, I know this is a sports show, and I know we're going to get into sports, but I want to give a really quick endorsement. I know that we're on the radio and I work in the industry, and so do you. So it's not surprising that I'm going to give this endorsement. But on a day like today, if you have a battery powered radio, with all the technology we have in today's world, it's all great and amazing. If you have a battery powered radio, or if you don't have one, try to find one. Today of all days would be a good day to have it. And I say that from experience, because that Andover tornado 2 years ago, we're in the basement, our neighborhood gets hit. There's no power. And not only that, there's no cell phone service. So I can't get any updates anywhere except on KNSS with a battery powered radio that I found in my closet. So, like, on a day like today, and even just moving forward, it's always good to have that. Find a battery powered radio. Make sure that that radio has fresh batteries in it, because we mentioned all the different ways to get warnings and the information. Technology is incredible, but when everything hits the fan, sometimes you got to have that backup plan, and the battery powered radio is a great way to do that.
It's always been a great radio. We used to have events back home of people powering those up, because you do lose signal. You lose cell phone signal. Yep. And that's what happened in that Andover storm a couple of years ago. Yeah. Is all the power went out.
Our house is maybe 2 or 3 blocks away from the Andover Y, which of course everybody knows, took that direct hit from the tornado a couple of years ago. It took about 4 hours from the time that it hit until I actually knew that the Y had been hit. And I lived 2 or 3 blocks away, because I had no way of getting that information, just because the phone lines were down. I couldn't get internet, like power, like nothing. I couldn't get any kind of updates at all. So that just shows you, like, even though technology is amazing, you can be so close to something and have no idea what's going on.
Well, because you don't want to come out. It's wild. And like right now, like this is going to be one of those kinds of days, there's just all these different things to consider. But, if you can, just hunker down tonight. Pretty standard. Look, standard, spring, summer, severe. We're right in the thick of this season. So folks around here know. We're not telling anybody anything they don't know. But if you haven't been, we're coming out of the weekend. If you haven't kind of been watching and pay attention, it is going to be a weather day today. So stay aware out there, and we'll do our best to let you know what's happening. It'll affect, Bob and Jeff probably a little bit. They'll be a little bit closer to it later today than we are now. But again, latest this morning from our Mets over Storm Team 12 are that it's, late afternoon into evening timing. Wichita Metro is right on the fringe of the most severe, like the pink, if you're looking on those maps, which we don't get that high that often. And then, if we're not there, we're at least in the red, which is what we saw last week when we saw quite a few tornadoes spin out of that thing. So, that and the huge hail risk is very real. So just, be ready. We'll be ready with you. We got a lot coming today on the show. We're going to talk about this Royals series with the Rangers. Good series. They didn't get it done series wide, but now they have another opportunity coming up against the Brewers. We'll get into that a little bit. We might, now start to dive into the NBA playoffs a little bit. Now we're into that second round. This is where it really typically starts to get pretty good. So we can take a peek there as well. Talk a little football from the weekend. Always busy. There are transfer things happening as always. A lot to get to on the show today. The number for you to call on the IHOP hotline is 869-1240. You can leave us your comments on social media, on our video stream, all kinds of ways to get in touch with the program. Do it with us. We'll be back. More Sports Daily right after this.
All right, let's do this thing. Go!
Sports Daily is on KFH.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Sports Daily. Royals fall in extra innings last night. That was for the first time in a while, Tommy. The first time we've seen the bullpen really let them down. Run in the 8th inning and a run in the 9th inning to tie the game up, and then a run in the 10th inning to allow it. So everything happened late to the Royals yesterday. That was early in the year. We thought that was going to be the concern. That's really settled in, but it did rear its ugly head last night. The second game was a total throwaway game. They lost it 15-4. And then the first game was a nice win, 7-1. Now they no rest, but they get to stay home for 3 against Milwaukee. Should be another good series.
Yeah, I really come away from that series over the weekend feeling about the way that I did about the Royals before the series started. Honestly, I mean, game 1 was great. They came out of the gate really strong. Late in the game, they were able to break open what had been kind of a pitcher's duel. And Brady Singer, I thought, pitched really well on Friday night. They were able to kind of break through. The bats came alive. Salvi, who, by the way, I put a bet down to win American League MVP over the weekend. He had a big home run on Friday night. And then you mentioned Saturday, kind of a throwaway game. Michael Wacha did not pitch well, probably the worst pitching performance overall that we've seen all season from the Royals. Hard to put a whole lot of stock into that. The Rangers bats came alive on Saturday, no doubt about that. And then yesterday, yeah, I mean, I was actually really impressed with Daniel Lynch. I didn't have a whole lot of expectations with him pitching coming into the game. He really didn't pitch well last year when they brought him in. And so I didn't have really high expectations. He pitched pretty well. His pitch count was pretty high, so he wasn't able to get deep into the game. And that was really the first time once you got into extra innings, pretty much the first time that we saw James MacArthur struggle a little bit out of the bullpen since he kind of assumed that closer's role or the late inning leverage type guy. So all in all, I mean, it was a mixed bag for Kansas City. I feel like I would feel a lot worse, if it had been a blowout yesterday, but it wasn't. Yeah, they only take 1 out of the 3 games, but all in all, I feel like I still feel pretty good about their overall prospects.
Oh, no question about that. I mean, it doesn't bother me at all that they dropped 2 or 3 at home against Texas when they didn't have either of Lugo or Reagan's going in that series. Daniel Lynch, heck, I mean, that's great. That could be the best news we've seen this season if he turns into a handy starter, and returns on that investment they made in him. I also, by the way, you sent me that you made the Salvi bet. I think I made it the day before or something, or 2 days before. So we're both in on that.
Great
It's no
odds.
reason not to.
Great odds.
Yeah, you can still get. I think you got what, 60 to 1. I got 50 to 1 on that. So make sure if that's something you want to do it now. If he stays healthy, he's going to have a shot. Shohei Ohtani's not in the American League anymore. Everybody, Salvi's biggest competition might be Bobby Witt Jr. It was interesting last night in extra innings. Rangers just chose not to pitch to Bobby Witt Jr. They put him on. And that it presented a situation where the pitcher spot was coming up. The Royals had to use pinch hitter. But you put the winning run on that. If you want to talk about the ultimate tip of the cap, you put the winning run, who's one of the fastest players in baseball, on to pitch around him. And it was the right decision by the Rangers, by the way. They did the right thing. And so you do not want to pitch to him. That's a tip of the cap. And that's where Pasquantino and Salvi have got to stay good. But, Salvi's biggest competition at MVP might be Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah.
And your odds on Bobby Witt Jr. are only like 4 to 1, by the way. So, not worth it there.
And you know what? With the offense, I know that they really, the game yesterday, they really struggled hitting. But I think one of the highlights of the weekend was Hunter Renfroe. And it had been a long time since we had really, I don't think it had happened at all in his tenure in Kansas City where we had sort of seen him offensively come alive. I don't know if that's something that will continue or if we can at any point expect it from a guy like Hunter Renfroe. But as you're looking at, okay, who else, and we talked about it last week, who else offensively can you count on outside of Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez? And it might be a combination of guys at one time or another. Michael Massey at one point, Vinny Pasquantino at one point, Hunter Renfroe. I think that there are other chances and opportunities, but it was good to see a guy, in Hunter Renfroe that was given a shot to come to Kansas City to kind of, I don't want to say resurrect his career, but he's he's fallen off over the last couple of years. Him getting a chance to get it going over the weekend in a big spot, I think is important. Now the question is, can he continue it moving forward?
For sure. And they will, if the Royals stay in contention, there is no chance they don't need another bat. They're going to need another bat. What you're hoping is Michael Garcia, can develop through this season. And if you look at the lineup, who are you going to replace? I think Isbell is going to be solidified in the lineup, right? I think he's going to be secure because of his defense. Massey has probably been, we'll call it good enough. Melendez has absolutely not been. Frazier / Renfroe has absolutely not been. So you're looking at 2 outfield spots. You probably need at least 1 outfield bat, when the time comes. And I maintain it. Like, if they're in this same position on June 1st, go do it right then. I'm sure that the A's or the White Sox or one of these really bad teams has a bat they would love to move at the deadline. Don't wait until the trade deadline. Make that move early. Get the most out of it that you can, because I don't think this is going to be some earth-shattering, monumental, colossal trade that the Royals are going to make. I don't think they're going to make any of those because, quite frankly, I don't think they have the pieces to make them. It'll be a very much more low-key type of move, but one they need to make. They have got to, shake up and get some juice into the bottom half of the lineup, because the top half of the lineup looks like it's going to be fine and pretty good even. If not, great potentially. As good as a lot of top of the lineups go. When you got 2 MVP candidates, that will happen. But they'll need something. The bullpen, I would say, I'm okay with. Especially in the 10th inning, you're put into a tough position there. But they gave up runs and they've gotten much better, so I don't think there's any need to panic or anything there yet. But we'll see. We got a Milwaukee series coming now.
I don't think
it's going to be interesting.
And I want to touch on the bullpen, because I don't think that there really is any reason to panic right now. I don't feel about the bullpen the way I felt about them at the beginning of the year when they were blowing leads and blowing wins. Seemed like night after night it was primarily Will Smith, but Chris Stratton was part of that too, and Nick Anderson was part of that. I don't feel that way about the bullpen now like I did at the very beginning of the season. James MacArthur, by and large, has been rock solid and brought himself into the discussion about being the closer for the Royals, and then I think claimed that, like he went in and took that job to be the closer. And this is really the first time. Yesterday was really the first time that we had seen, any kind of, wavering or any kind of struggle from him. And honestly, it was one game, one situation from James MacArthur, when otherwise he's been a pretty solid closer.
Remember, they've given up now 10 runs, 9 earned in 2 days, right? And it's been a collection. So you shake those off, and it's not a big deal when you don't have general concerns about the bullpen. I don't think we need to be concerned right now because they've really found a nice rotation. But it does, always leave the possibility open too that they may need another bullpen arm when the time comes. And that's totally fine too. The problem there is everybody in baseball will need a bullpen arm. And all the good teams right now are dealing with a ton of injuries too. The trade market's going to be competitive. It will be a seller's market. There is no question this year. From
a pitching perspective, I'm more concerned about what's the leash on Michael Wacha, because out of everybody in that rotation, he's definitely the weak link now, I would say. And I know that Alec Marsh is currently on the IL. He had a rehab start in the minors over the weekend. I think he pitched 4 innings and didn't give up a run, and looks like he's going to be okay to get back into the rotation pretty quickly. Now that you've got, and I know it's a very, very small sample size, but now that you have at least, a really solid performance from Daniel Lynch that we saw yesterday, does he find his way, to stick around with the big league club? Alec Marsh coming back in. Is the odd man out Michael Wacha after what we saw from over the weekend? I don't know, and I don't know if it's anytime soon, but how long of a leash is a guy like Michael Wacha going to have?
Well, his contract's going to give him a long leash, so a long one. They're paying him. And I know it's been, it was really bad this week, and it was bad, but not like the worst thing in the world the 2 or 3 games before. He's had, I would tell you that I think he has had like markedly bad starts. He's had 2. He has had, as a Royal, then 3 good starts, 2 really bad starts, and 2 that you can live with, right? But you got to bet, giving up 4 runs in 5 2/3 is not good, but if that's your 5th starter, you can sort of navigate that and deal with it a little bit, which can't have happen is what happened, obviously, this weekend, where you just get shelled and don't give your team a chance. They can't have that. Now his ERA is ballooned from at one point under 4 to now 5.5. So it's early in the year. I'm not overly concerned. I'm more concerned about his long-term health than I am him figuring it out and being able to give you a 4th or 5th starter and, maybe a 3rd starter, because the reality is right now you don't need him to be any more than your 3rd. You might not need him to be any more than your 4th, depending on Brady Singer, who has also been pretty shaky, by the way. He was really good this weekend. But look, you line up this series now, and your next one, and it's exactly what you want. You're at home against a really good team in Milwaukee, and you go Reagan's Lugo Singer. That's what you want if you're the Royals. You want an opportunity when those 3 go out to win 3 games in a row, at least 2 games in a row. and to win these series. So, as you look big picture at these things and try to think about, well, okay, I know you got to get there first, of course, with baseball. You got to get to the postseason first. But as you look at it and you look at a series like this is very much what a playoff series would look like. A team that's as good as the Brewers have been, with your top 3 starters lined up to go those 3 games. Can you win that series? And, what do you need, if not, to help you win that series? So I love these kinds of series early in a year when you're a competitive team, as the Royals are. And right now they've got the good fortune in the injury front for the most part. If you look around baseball, I mean, the team they just played with, the Rangers, they're missing their top 3 starting pitchers, right? Like it has been a rough year out there, and the Royals have done a nice job avoiding things so far. We'll see if they can keep doing that, but this should be a fun series.
Yeah, and I've thought it all along that this series against the Brewers upcoming will tell us more, I think, about the Royals than what the series they just wrapped up against the Rangers will tell you. And really that comes down to the order of the rotation. You're taking on a Rangers team that has a lot of pop in the lineup. Now, they hadn't been hitting particularly well coming into the series, but a lot of potential pop in that lineup with guys like Seager and Simeon and Garcia and, everybody else they've got in that lineup. And you trot out there just based on the order of the rotation, Brady Singer, Michael Wacha, and then Daniel Lynch. So honestly, like when that, you look back on the fact that the Royals got the win with Brady Singer. That's probably what you would have expected, especially taking on Michael Lorenzen. And then from there, Michael Wacha lost. And, Daniel Lynch didn't get a decision, but, I thought he pitched pretty well. So all in all, yeah, they lost 2 of those 3 games, but with who they were starting in those 3 games, okay, like, yeah, I feel like, all right, I can take 1 out of 3 in that kind of series. You mentioned the top 3 starters taking the bump against the Brewers in this upcoming 3-game series. Again, I think that's going to tell us more overall about this entire Royals team. On top of that, because Michael Wacha basically got shelled early in the game on Saturday, he didn't last particularly long. It became a bullpen game. Then the game yesterday went into extras. There's probably some fatigue setting in for guys like James MacArthur and other bullpen pieces. So again, like I'm interested to see the way that Matt Quatrero manages the bullpen in the series, starting tonight and moving forward against the Brewers and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, you hope you don't need him. I mean, I don't worry about MacArthur at all, like at all. He got put in the extra inning. You get a ghost runner, like, whatever. But I do think there are things that this team will have to solve if it's going to ultimately get there. The good news is I don't think they're crazy things. I mean, I think if you're looking around baseball at the teams that are feeling like they're in the mix, there are teams that certainly would need a whole lot more to get there, I think, than the Royals. The Royals, I don't think they need a splash move. I mean, you'd love to take whatever the top bat on the market is, but I don't think they're going to need it if the bullpen holds up. Because I do believe in the top of the lineup. I do believe in this starting rotation. I mean, you look at it right now, just being healthy at this point in the season. The Rangers missing their top 3 starters right now. The Mariners, another team in the mix, are possibly going to lose another starter to the DL. Like, I mean, they're all over. I mean, people are dropping like flies this year, and the Royals have been able to maintain it. If they can stay healthy through this while teams work it out, they may be able to give themselves a little cushion for later in the year. And then it becomes all about getting into the postseason. And I think what should really get us jacked up and fired up for the Royals is if you think about this team as a postseason team, running out Lugo, running out Reagans, that's 2 you love to go to bat with. You love the top of the lineup. You got 2 MVP candidates sitting there. Like, there are things here that make this a pretty attractive postseason team. But getting there, of course, I think will be certainly the challenge, and they'll just have to outlast everybody. So we'll see. That series begins tonight with the Brewers. And you get evening times. We will pick up coverage here because you've got Wichita State coaches shows tonight. So we'll pick up coverage at 8 o'clock after the Christy Breadbinner show at 7 o'clock. They, of course, begin their, by the way, AAC tournament, which will take place here in Wichita this year, which is pretty cool. So you'll hear from her. You'll hear from Brian Green before that at 6, and then we'll join the Royals in progress. The game starts at is it a 6:40? I think it's a 6:40, and then an afternoon 1:00 game on the getaway day there for Brady Singer. That would be on Wednesday. No days off here this week. I think they play 7. Yeah, they play 7 games this week. So no days off this week. And it's going to be, it'll be a fun series. I can't wait for it. My favorite Royals series we've had so far this year, because it's a good team and the starting pitching lined up. I think this feels like a postseason series. So should be fun. That'll come for you tonight. We're going to bounce around elsewhere in the sports world. We can come back to the Royals if you so choose and want to talk about them on that IHOP hotline. I want to remind you that mornings here at KFH, staff enjoys a great cup of coffee from Prairie Fire Coffee. Might be one of those nights to have some coffee as we continue to watch this severe weather. If I catch wind of anything or any updates here in the next hour and a half from our Storm Team 12 up at K, which I'll let you know. The last update was the updated map, and we're still smack square in the middle of the bad stuff. So we'll keep an eye on that for you as well. Don't go away. Sports Daily, Albracht and Castor coming right back.
.97.5 and 1240 KFH.
I'm Ben Winters. I'm not an actor. I'm an attorney. Really, if you've been hurt in a wreck, don't make the mistake of assuming insurance companies are on your side. They're not. That's why you need the best representation in Wichita. And according to the Wichita Eagle, Patterson Legal Group is the best law firm in town. We've recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for our clients. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today. Patterson Legal is the way to go.
Baseball fans, support your hometown Shockers this spring. With new head coach Brian Green, the Shockers are playing an exciting brand of baseball, and new enhancements to the outfield experience on Coleman Hill at X Stadium have turned each game into a can't-miss event. Bring in a cooler filled with your own food and beverages out to Coleman Hill for a fun and cheap outing at the ballpark. Select alcoholic beverages are permitted. Restrictions apply, and fans must be 21 to drink. View upcoming games and grab your tickets today. Visit GoShockers.com/tickets or call 316-978-FANS.
Go Hog Wild, get barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you.
It's $5.99 barbecue time. Hurry to Hog Wild for a complete barbecue meal that's only $5.99. Terry Caldwell, Hog Wild partner and general manager in Wichita at Maple and West Street, has all the details on this smoking deal.
Get a Hog Wild sandwich loaded with our award-winning meats like pulled pork, pulled chicken, or hot wings, plus your choice of a classic side and a drink for just $5.99.
Upgrade your sandwich to beef brisket for just $1 more. Join us for lunch or dinner. You can also order online at GoHogWild.com. Hog Wild Pit Barbecue. 6 locations in Wichita. Also in Derby, El Dorado, Hutchinson, and Salina.
Go Hog Wild, get barbecue. Hog Wild, get some for you. But don't be late, no late.
Tired of that constant dripping? Superior Plumbing is here to help. Our parts department stocks only genuine, top-quality parts for repairs that last. Brands like Poland, Delta, and American Standard faucets, water heaters, toilets, and more. Whether you're a trade professional or a DIYer, we have licensed plumbers on hand to help.
Superior Plumbing will come running because we care, treat you fair and square. And our name says it all, Superior.
Hi, I'm Trey Bossa with Market Medicare Advisors here in Wichita. I'm excited to announce I'm hosting a brand new show, Health in Retirement. Our team of health insurance advisors will educate you on healthcare pricing, exercise and fitness, and news updates in an easy-going and fun conversation. Go to healthinretirement.com to watch the show and submit questions you want us to answer. Health in Retirement, golden advice for your golden years.
Investment Advisory Services are offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor, committed to endorsed by the U.S. government or federal mandate program.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're looking for the most epic place on earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
A big feature. Intelligent 4x4 can improve collisions to provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
KIN Sports, I'm Spencer Dupuis. The Royals lost the weekend series to the Rangers 2-1 after winning Friday night 7-1 as Hunter Renfroe and Salvador Perez both went yard in the game. They would go on to lose Saturday 15-4 as Michael Wacha gave up 7 runs on 9 hits in 3 2/3 innings, and Matt Sauer gave up 5 in the final frame. And Sunday they fell 3-2 in 10 innings. KC led 2-0 until the Rangers tied it in the 9th and won it in the 10th as James Chicago gave up the final 2 runs of the game. After the game, Major Matt Petrello wasn't pleased with his team.
It's a tough loss. You had 2-0 lead going to the 8th, but a lot will be made in the last couple innings. But we didn't do a lot to expand in the middle innings, and credit to Gray and Yates to keep us right where we were. But it's a tough loss.
The Royals are now 20-15 and start a 3-game homeset with the Brewers tonight at 6:40 as Cole Reagans will be on the bump. Kansas Information Network Sports, I'm Spencer Dupuis.
The commercials are over.
Yo, I haven't got all day.
869-1240.
Time to get busy.
This is Sports Daily on KFH.
Tommy, did you watch the Tom Brady roast?
I didn't. No, I saw clips of it online. Didn't get a chance to watch it live.
I didn't even know this was happening. Yeah. Man, that was good. Now, you better bring your big boy pants if you're going to go, because like good old school roasts are. It is absolutely ruthless. Like I didn't know Kevin Hart had it in him. On the stuff I saw from him, and some of these people I didn't know who they were. I'm sure I'll look them up, but they were comedians, or whatever. Whew, it got intense, but that's tough. How do you think you'd handle? I mean, we did a very light roast on you Friday. How do you think you'd handle a roast like that? Public facing, all of it involved. People are, throwing your divorce out on the table. Like, that is tough.
Yeah, it's hard. And I don't know. I mean, you guys did a pretty good job, I feel like, of roasting me on Friday.
Got you pretty good.
But that was about one specific thing that had happened to me.
Right.
24 hours prior, as opposed to like basically an all-you-can-eat buffet of everything that has gone wrong in my life. That'd be more difficult. But I mean, I appreciate roasts like that. I've watched a lot of them, a lot of the old school ones, the ones that, are downright filthy and raunchy and just like you said, ruthless. They're fun to watch. I don't know how I would be if there was one about me in person, but it'd be fun to be a part of. If I got to roast somebody, I would totally be on board with
that. So I would tell you that I think I would be fine, as long as, and the part that would be hard for me would be other people getting, catching strays because of it. Because I don't know how they'd feel. Like bringing family into it, that would probably make me leery of it. Other than that, though, like if it was just like at me, then I'd be fine. I think it would be funny and you could enjoy it. But it's the other part of it that's really, really hard. Like, you're talking about other people here. Robert Kraft caught a stray that Tom Brady apparently didn't like very much. Giselle caught, well, she didn't necessarily catch any strays, but she was the basis of a lot of the and that's where it would get a little bit tough, because they didn't sign up for that, right? Like, so that would be like, I would have this guilt factor of what they got because I'm getting roasted. That would make me feel bad.
Did you see any of the clips of Drew Bledsoe and some of the things that he was roasting Brady about? Did you catch any of that?
I saw some. I think so. Yeah. I saw a couple of his clips.
That was good.
Whoever the MC was, Kevin Hart, the woman who I assume is a comedian who was she was in the mix.
Yeah, Nikki Glazer. She's a KU grad,
yes.
apparently.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know about her. Is she just a stand-up comedian?
Yeah, she's a comedian. Like there are these
I gotta
comedians
catch
that
her.
like Jeff Ross was there, and he's the roast
I didn't know who
guy.
he was
like,
either.
He's on every
Okay.
Comedy Central roast.
That was
like,
the MC guy,
he's
right?
the guy. I think so. Yeah, he was the one that made the joke
know
about
who he
Robert
was.
Kraft that
Yeah.
Brady was
Yeah,
upset about.
okay. Yeah, no, I didn't know him.
Julian
either. I figured he
Edelman was great. Bill Belichick was great too.
I didn't see either of them. Okay, so I have more to watch.
It was I just saw clips of them. I mean, I won't ruin all of it, but Edelman, and you were talking about other people catching strays. Edelman had a joke directed at Belichick about how in practice he would always yell at the players and say that they weren't even good enough to play football for Foxborough High School. And then Edelman said, hey, Bill, the only job offer you got the last offseason was Foxborough High School. So that was pretty good, like just different things like that. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot more to it.
I got to go check those two out. And then Tom Brady gets like a rebuttal, right? Was he any good? Did you see any of that?
He took a shot at the Chiefs, took a shot at Patrick Mahomes, something
What did
about,
he say?
It was about Taylor Swift. It was basically about how popular the Chiefs are now, but it's only because the fan base is made up of 14-year-old girls. I mean, it was pretty that's not even that big of a deal. And like, all right, whatever, Tom.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's a good joke to make. That's an easy joke to make. It's, it's the right joke to make probably because it's just low hanging fruit. But yeah, that was entertaining. That at least the clips I saw, clearly I have some more to go back and watch today because I guess it wasn't even close to being over. Man, everybody, like I keep looking on social media and everybody seems to be well received. And, I don't know. I just saw a tweet. Did you? Eli Manning just tweeted. Eli Manning, boy, he has become I've become a much bigger fan of him now that he's not playing football. Eli says, I thought about attending the roast of Tom Brady last night, but I didn't want to roast him for a third time, which is good, which is really good. Because there's a fraternity there of quarterbacks. Those guys are all buddies. I mean, you kind of have to be. But you check it out again. If you've got the right kind of sense of humor, because it is not G-rated at all. It is very much R-rated to probably like NC-17. Like I wouldn't want kids watching that, but it's funny. If you're old school, do you think that kind of old school comedy is making a comeback? Because I think it is. I think that the no filter comedy, which had been muzzled for a while, is becoming unmuzzled a little bit. And I've heard stand-up comedians talk about it, and they're like, look, the audience will tell us if we've gone too far. The audience sitting literally right in front of us if we've gone too far. Not social media. Like, social media thinks everything's gone too far because you just get a lot of megaphones. But, I've always heard it explained that way. Like, we're standing in a room full of people. Like, if that joke's not well received, we're going to know right away. If we've if we've crossed over that line. But it's like all the great art forms, you kind of have to cross over the line to find the really good stuff, right? And so I've always loved like no hold back comedy. And yeah, sometimes it goes too far and it's fine. It's not, okay, that joke was too far. On to the next joke. Let's all try to laugh a little bit. But yep, that one's out there. I haven't seen anything like that in a while. Remember when Comedy Central used to do those all the time?
Yeah.
Like they would always
It was a big
put
deal.
those
Like every
roasts
year
on.
they had a big one. Charlie Sheen, I know, has gotten it. Justin Bieber
Roseanne
got it.
got roasted.
Bob Saget got it one year. David Hasselhoff.
Oh yeah.
I used to watch all
really
of them. Like they were so good.
Yeah, they need to keep those coming. I think of the early stuff I saw, it's not even that his jokes were the best. It was Kevin Hart like taking the Hollywood cap off and getting back to old school. Like I was like, man, I didn't know Kevin Hart had that in it. Maybe his stand-up stuff does. I don't know, but just how excited he was getting for that and everything else made me happy, made me smile. I didn't even have the audio on some of them. Just seeing his reactions to them made me smile. Good on Tom Brady for doing it, man. That's tough. That is tough. Do the people getting roasted get paid in these situations?
I don't think
Does he collect a check for that?
I don't think you get paid to be a part of that. Like I don't think that
somebody.
Like,
I mean, Netflix has got to pay somebody. They're
Do
not
they,
getting
though?
free
I mean, it's more
programming.
just like, hey, like, having fun at Tom Brady's expense, and like Brady doesn't.
Well,
need to
I
get-
know, but
Brady doesn't need to get paid for that, and neither do
well,
the
why would he?
roasters.
Why would he do it though? Netflix isn't getting free programming.
Just for
That
the
I can
fun of it.
guarantee
I don't
you.
know.
Somebody's getting paid. No, you don't just hand Netflix this gem on a silver platter and say, "Here, go make a ton of money off of us, Netflix. We're just gonna have fun." No, I mean, I think there's payment
So
involved there.
where's my payment then from Friday's show?
You get a paycheck, don't you?
Well, yeah, but I need to get
Just get paid for being
additional.
here.
Need to get paid
Yeah,
additional
you get
for,
paid for being here.
the
I didn't-
abuse I was put through on Friday.
Jad, did you collect any extra? I mean, we were on fire. I didn't get like a bonus or anything. Just
No, I
every
didn't
day
see
on the
anything
job.
extra. No.
Yeah, not yet anyway. I mean, we're providing that gold for free. You can go back and listen to that, by the way, if you'd like. It was good stuff, making fun of Tommy's vasectomy. It was great. We have all kinds of clips, snippets, all available for you right now at kfhradio.com. You can go back. I think you can go back and watch the video streams too, if you'd like
They
to.
are archived on YouTube. You can go back and watch
yeah.
them. I'd like to point out, by the way, I do feel better today, if that means anything. I mean, I'm probably not 100%, but I'm better than what I was.
I should have asked you that off the top there. I'm glad you're feeling up to speed here. By the way, this portion of the program brought to you by Crestview Country Club. It's getting to be that time of year. Look, we start all of our stuff here with the craziness. We're counting down the days. June is wild. That's when we have swim team. That's when all the kids camp starts. So for us, that's when it starts. I know people are out there already playing golf like crazy. I still haven't been out to play golf yet. I haven't been to the range yet this year, Tommy. I haven't even been to the range yet.
Today would not be the best day to do that. Maybe we look at later in the week. It's supposed to be really nice later in the week. I don't think today's a good idea.
Let's not hold metal rods up in the air today. Correct. Yeah. Severe. Well, I'll get you an update on that, by the way, if there is one. As of now, glad you brought that up. Just pay attention. Be prepared to get away from the weather, which is going to blow through most of the state. And there's pretty high tornado and really large hail risk. So just FYI, if you're just tuning into the program and haven't been paying attention, that's out there today, late afternoon. So be aware and be prepared. Thank you to Crestview for supporting this portion of the program. Give them a call. Find out about all their special deals. They've got all kinds of different memberships you can get your hands on. And tell them we sent you here from Sports Daily. We're back, hour number 2. How fired up for this second round of the NBA playoffs are we? I've got one series in particular. I am very much so. And we can kind of power rank these series of interest for us. We'll do that when we return. Hour number 2 of Sports Daily coming right up.
In Odyssey Sports Station, this is 97.5 and 1240 KFH, KNSS HD2 Clearwater, Wichita's most listened to sports radio.
Hey, baseball fans, go yard with BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks. All season long, we're offering top odds on your favorite home run bets, shared $50K Grand Slam jackpots, fast and convenient ways to play same-game parlays, special boosts and tokens, and so much more. From the first pitch to the game-winning fireworks, there are more ways than ever to supercharge your excitement. Whether you want to combine multiple bets with a chance at a bigger payout or place a live bet as the game unfolds, BetMGM has all the home run betting options you can need. Download the BetMGM app, head to the ballpark, and get your piece of MLB action. BetMGM is an official partner of Major League Baseball. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 years of age or older. Kansas only. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Clear and sunny skies for this morning with temperatures in the low and mid-50s.
Weather brought to you by Staples. Staples stores have great prices on all the products and services for your small business or remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store.
Hope your imaginary friends are hungry, because IHOP's new menu, inspired by the movie If, is our most imaginative yet. With blue raspberry pancakes, a pizza omelet, unbelievable soda pops, and more. It's time to set your imaginary friends free. Only at IHOP. Kids eat free every day 4 to 10 p.m. And see If in theaters May 17. One free kids entree per full-priced adult entree. Restrictions apply. This film is not yet rated.
Don't sweat a swing and miss thanks to insurance tokens from BetMGM. Add an MLB wager to your bet slip and activate your bet insurance token. If your bet with the token applied doesn't hit, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to a specified maximum amount. So that's another chance to step up to the plate and bet on the action out there on the diamond. Baseball is America's national pastime, and BetMGM's favorite pastime is making the sport even more amazing for fans. Whether you want to bet on a no-run first inning, try a signature bet, or take a home run prop, BetMGM has a loaded lineup for all 9 innings, all season long. Go to your BetMGM account today to claim your bet insurance token and get your stake back in bonus bets if your MLB wager using the token doesn't win. Only at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for the T's and C's. 21 and older only. Kansas only. Existing customer offer subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Truck Staff is the premier provider for all of your towing needs. Fifth wheels, gooseneck, and bumper pull hitches with brands like BMW, Draw-Tite, and Kurt. We also sell and install brake controllers and airbags to lift your squatty rear end. Interest-free financing makes it a snap to get your boat, horse trailer, or camper safely down the road. For all of your hitch needs, stop by Truck Staff today at 427 North Washington.
Tricked out, decked out, check us out. Truck Stuff.
A 1957 Chevy, a single perfectly formed red rose, a mother's soft lullaby. All these things come to mind when you think of classics. Or what about a clean, crisp white cotton shirt, or the sparkle of a diamond solitaire ring, like the ones you find at Mike Seltzer Jewelers? Now there's a true classic. In business since 1950, Mike Seltzer Jewelers has it all. Longevity, a name everyone trusts, true dedication to service and value. And right now, this classic store is making all the elegant jewelry that Wichita has loved more affordable than ever. From May 1st through June 30th, almost everything in the store is 50% off. Classic, elegant jewelry that everyone can afford. Mike Seltzer Jewelers, 2929 North Rock Road in Comatera Center, 50% off during May and June. Elegance is now affordable at Mike Seltzer Jewelers.
Hurry in. Sale ends June 30th.
Thinking about a bathroom remodel? You should consider the Onyx Collection from Superior Plumbing. Whether it's a standard or a custom shower design, the team at Superior Plumbing can assist you in creating the perfect new bathroom. Oh, and the Onyx Collection is guaranteed forever and made right here in Kansas. Visit the Superior Plumbing showroom at 6837 East Harry today.
Superior Plumbing will come running because we can treat you fair and square. And our name says it all, Superior.
The KFH Studios, powered by Devon James Injury Lawyers. Call 888-8888.
That's 888-8888.
NASCAR racing at the Kansas Speedway yesterday. The Advent Health 400, 48,000 fans on hand. A 3-hour rain delay. After that, things got started, and it couldn't be more close. The action on Fox Sports 1.
Larson up top, all the way up top. Busher.
He's on the outside. He's in position. He's got it.
And here comes Truex. They're going to close right to the 2 leaders. Coming to the line. Clutch together. I believe Busher.
I think you're right. It's so close.
Kyle Larson beat Chris Buescher by 1 inch after 268 laps on the track by 1/1000th of a second. Closest finish in NASCAR history. Kyle Larson at the age of 31, his second win this season, his second win at Kansas in the last 4 years, 25th win of his career. The closest of the close races, NASCAR yesterday at the Kansas Speedway in the Advent Health 400. I'm Ted, the Sports Head.
Now, from Wichita's most listened to sports radio, 97.5 and 1240 KFH. This is Sports Daily with Jacob Albracht and Tommy Castor.
All right, welcome in hour number 2, everybody. Sports Daily. It's Albracht and Castor. Chad Chambers producing. That IHOP hotline back open for you, 869-1240. You can always jump on there and get in touch with the show. You can do it as well on our video streams if you're watching us there. Those are available on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. Cracked Glass on YouTube asks if the snippets comment about the segmented shows and ways you can find it was a joke on Tommy's vasectomy. And the answer is, of course it was. So you can also go back and listen in the past. Friday, we had a full-on, we all had some fun at Tommy's expense. And then And then you can move forward with us as well. You can listen at kfhradio.com. Lots of different ways to listen to the show, get in touch with the show. Your opportunity to win some HTO iced tea and coffee is coming up later in this hour, so stay tuned for that chance as well. Tommy, the NBA playoffs are into round number 2. We had a game 7 yesterday. I wanted to say I was going to get in round number 1. I watched a little of the Knicks 76ers series, a little of the Mavs Clippers series. And that's about it. And I'm ready to lock in on the Thunder. So let's look at these series in the second round. In the Western Conference, you've got Thunder Mavs, you've got T-Wolves Nuggets. And then in the Eastern Conference, you've got Celtics Cavs, Pacers Knicks. How are you looking at these? Because I have 2 that I'm really interested in and 2 that I'm not quite there yet with.
I'm really only interested in the games in the Western Conference, those 2 series.
Same.
Like the Thunder Mavs, Timberwolves Nuggets. Those are probably the only 2 series that I'm going to really pay attention to. But I'm kind of biased towards the Western Conference anyway. I always think it's more entertaining for the most part. I can't really get behind Celtics and Cavs or Pacers and Knicks.
Because
like
the Celtics are going to
Yeah.
Celtics are going to kill the Cavs. I mean, Pacers Knicks might be interesting, I guess. The Knicks are a really good story. Love it. But problem with the Knicks is that they don't have a chance to win an NBA title, I don't think. Now, that's sort of where I have to get with these series is you got to win a title. But I think in the West, all 4 of those teams could win a title.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that it was last year to an extent, right? I mean, there was kind of a log jam in the Western Conference, not so much in the Eastern Conference. I think if I had to power rank my level of excitement with the 2 series in the Western Conference, it's got to be Nuggets and Timberwolves. And I think that because, you're obviously talking about
first.
Well, I think you're talking, you're talking about Jokic and just the stars that, the Nuggets have. You've got the Christian Brown connection in there. And then with the way that Anthony Edwards has just taken over the NBA in these playoffs, I mean, that's going to be a fun series. And that's probably the one I'm going to be most locked into.
I think the other is my interest a little bit more for a couple of reasons. Luka always interests me, and I do sort of root for the Mavs. I mean, I like the Mavs. The Mavs would be the team I guess I root for, but I'm starting to think that it might be time to sort of just follow Oklahoma City all year. They've got such a fun young roster. It's sort of like it was, the first time around. They have all these stars. They're the 1 seed, right? Are they ready yet? And I don't know. I don't know that I think they'll be able to beat the Nuggets in a series if it gets to that point. I mean, Dallas is just sort of hobbles through, but they do have one of the best players in the world. I think that series has so much young star power that it's hard for me not to watch that one. And I do like both of the teams involved in that series. I also like both the teams involved in the Nuggets and T-Wolves. I like all 4 of those teams as far as just kind of like enjoy seeing their success. So I'm in on both series. I think both series are probably going to be pretty good. I think they're probably going to be pretty good.
Yeah. And don't you think
in the
that
East, I just don't think they're going to be that good. I think the Knicks will win, and I think the Celtics will win, and then it'll be the Celtics in there and see if anybody can take them down.
And let's talk about Oklahoma City for a second. I've been really impressed with what they've done this year, and this has been several years in the making, the way that they have hoarded those draft picks. And, Sam Presti with the job that he's done down there and bringing in the young talent and all of that. And this is kind of the start of the payoff of all of those really bad years, the post-Russell Westbrook years in Oklahoma City. And now you've got a new era of Thunder basketball. That's awesome. I know they're the 1 seed. I have a hard time thinking that this is the year they're going to get a championship. I still think that they might be maybe a year away from legitimately being the favorite to win an NBA championship.
You have to get the picks right too. Like, it's not as easy as just like sitting there. You have to still get those picks right. And they appear to have done that. And they're a really, really cool, young, hip, interesting, right down the road. Because, if we're really counting the miles, they're the closest pro team to us here in Wichita. And I think they have an opportunity. They really do. Like, if they could collect this area into their fandom, I think it could go a long way. in helping them do what they do. But those series get started. You get Nuggets T-Wolves tonight. It's late. And then Knicks Pacers is also. I think Knicks Pacers might be good. I don't know. It's hard to know what to think about the Pacers because the Bucks didn't have any of their players for that series. But, the Knicks are at least interesting. I think the Jalen Brunson story is awesome. Love that guy, but I just don't think.
I think the Knicks win. I think the Knicks win the series.
Could you imagine, how did the Mavericks let Jalen Brunson walk out the door? I mean, can we be real for a minute?
Yeah, Brunson has turned himself into a superstar, and he's getting paid at a level that, is maybe like a mid-tier player in the NBA. Like, if you look at his contract, I don't think he's getting paid anywhere close to what he deserves.
Nobody thought he would be worth that contract.
Right.
Like, nobody on the planet thought. The only place that thought it was worth it is the Knicks, it feels like. And, man, they were right big time. And the Knicks are a team that I am ready to see get over the hump, right? That's a cool fan base. That's a cool, of all the big mega fan bases, that's a cool one that probably deserves their day. I think it's time for the Knicks to be able to get over the hump.
I think they win this series.
They're not there yet.
I don't think they win a championship, but I do think they win this series. I think they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. Because the thing about the Pacers, you mentioned the way they beat the Bucks, and the Bucks didn't really have any of their stars, and Giannis was out and all of that. That's all true. There's, from a location proximity, the Pacers and Bucks, not that far away from each other, really, when you're looking at a map. And so there was a lot of, I think, those two teams don't like each other. They don't get along, to put it nicely. It wouldn't surprise me if the Pacers, got out a bunch of energy in that series against the Bucks and, may not be able to follow it up in this series against the Knicks.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, I hope they win. I'll be watching the Western Conference and probably not a ton of the Eastern Conference yet. Maybe if those series get late into the series, we will get there with that. I'm seeing this, Tommy. This is just coming down, and I'm trying to decipher it, but we'll just do that on the air with everybody here. So there's a college sports business reporter for On3 who is putting this out. So they must have sent a release. The College Football Players Association put something out, and they're trying to push for, what they're going to do and collective bargaining, but they don't call themselves, and Pete Thamel points this out, which is why this popped up onto my radar. So the College Football Players Association, as an organized body, is not calling themselves in their initial, we want to, move forward and find some things, employees. And so it makes me wonder then back to something we talked to last week about this new idea, right, of revenue sharing. And I'm always trying to decide where this lands. And what's interesting about seeing that to me is it feels like even they know there is a line here that probably isn't going to be able to be crossed in feasibility in compensation. Where is that line? So we've bantied about, revenue sharing for a long time. NIL, told you from the very beginning, colleges should be pushing that more than anybody, because then at least they're not the ones having to pay the players, right? It's somebody else. You raise those funds, but it's not coming out. And maybe it comes from a different place that the university's athletic department might receive. But I would bet you this. I would bet you, Tommy, that today, if we ask the big programs whether NIL has generated more or less revenue in general for athletic departments, I think the answer would be significantly more, if we were being honest. At least, not under the table money, but on top of the table money. So if you've got NIL in place and it's good and it's robust and it's all these things, do you think the end game in it, that revenue sharing would be enough and not having to become full-on employees? Becoming full-on employees, you might be able to bargain more for insurance and, some sort of benefit. Is revenue sharing plus NIL enough, you think, to appease the athlete side of this? Because it does appear in some of this early language that even they know, you can't have it all here, or the model will crumble.
Yeah, I just don't know what the negative, what the downside is of calling these athletes employees on either side. And I don't, because here's what ends up happening is that you end up having, I would think, more protections from the institution side if these athletes are considered employees. I would think,
A lot more money.
because it's more money, but you've got more protections, I think, because you're probably talking about contracts at that point. You're probably talking about restrictions in the contracts, non-competes,
You mean
so, like,
protection? You mean protection from the transfer portal?
absolutely. I think that there's protections that would be built in, from that would, I think, protect the institution. So I don't know why. I understand there's more money involved, but that might be that might be a trade-off. I mean, that might be a trade-off in the way that.
Yeah, I think you can tie NIL compensations to transfer agreements without the university necessarily having to do that. Like, let's say I own Joe Blow's car dealership and I want to endorse some local kid that's playing wherever. Well, in that endorsement deal, I'm going to say you got to be playing here or you're not going to get your money. The school doesn't have to do that. I don't think. I mean, the company can, because I'm not going to pay you if you're not here. I think the danger in employment comes as somebody who has employed. Like, there are so many costs to having employees that you never think about, or the general public doesn't even know about, because I didn't until we opened 2 businesses. You've got taxes out the rear end that you have to pay. You've got unemployment tax. You've got all these added taxes and things that come with having actual employees. Now, I don't know how that works with college athletes. I don't know if you're not an employee but a student, like, I assume that a lot of those costs go away. You don't have to pay payroll taxes and unemployment taxes and all of these other things on every single employee that you have. If you're there, that helps the university in a big way, because they're already worried about not having enough money. So if every athlete that walks on campus, or every football player, now if you go to a university and all of a sudden you're like, all right, we're going to add 150 more employees. If you're just talking about football, men's and women's basketball, that's a significant amount of money. Significant. Do you have to offer it? Do you have to offer benefits now at a university, at a pub? Probably, because I bet you all the other teachers on campus get benefits. That's another massive cost. I think insurance cost is already accounted for. I think college athletes already get, looped into that anyway. But between the taxes and the benefits of a university employing all these people, because they'd be full-time employees, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they'd be part-timers. Maybe they would be. I don't know. But there is a significant cost increase if you're talking about that and revenue sharing, because now you're giving up the money coming in and you're increasing the money going out. And I just think it's interesting that the early language doesn't quite go that far from the loosely organized body that does currently exist, because there is a line, Tommy, where this is not sustainable. There's a line where this doesn't work.
Yeah, and I don't
know what it is.
There are plenty of examples in our country today where you've got a group of individuals, an organized body, where they're part of a union, quote unquote, but they're not actual employees of any kind of company. They're independent contractors. Look at like the actors union or the writers, like in entertainment. Like they're not employed by a studio. Like that's not their full-time job, but they're part of a union that helps govern all of the different entities that might hire them and bring them on as an independent contractor. And so you've got a couple of different ways.
Representation.
Yeah, you've got a couple of different ways that this can go down, where, like what we're used to in this market is in the aircraft industry, you've got unions, but you've got people that are more often than not working full-time as an employee for whatever company that is in this city. They're also represented by a union. So you can do it both ways. And it does seem to me that based off of the way that this is worded, that this is going to be looking more like these athletes are kind of independent contractors. They're represented. There's, all of that, but they're not actually going to end up as employees of the university.
I mean, I suppose they still can. I just, because they're going to get representation, they're going to get bargaining. It's almost like, if you can't have it all, what would you rather have? You'd obviously want NIL. There's no question about that. And you'd want the untethered ability to transfer whenever you want to. If I'm a player, if I'm a high-level player, here's what I want. More than employment. Don't really care about employment because I'll make my money in endorsements. But I want to be able to move around whenever I want to to take advantage of the most beneficial financial situation. So I don't know that I would rather. I don't think I'd rather be an employee but not be able to move around. And so then it's like, okay, well, if that makes more sense for the athletes, because it might make more sense for the athletes to not be employees but have the freedom to move whenever they want. But if you do that on the other side now, if you're the schools, you got to understand, like, because I don't think they want to make these kids employees either. I think the cost could get too high, even though it may be inevitable, unless it's collectively bargained, of course. Okay, well, I guess we just have to deal with the transfer portal then.
Well, and think about it this way too. As
what would you rather have if you were the school? I'd rather have more money and just deal with kids leaving and make sure I can fund a department.
Yeah, think about it this way too. If you cross that threshold of players becoming employees of a university, then, like you mentioned, the number, like let's say it's 150 new employees, based off of the football team and basketball team, whoever. Then you're dealing in a lot of cases with, in D1 settings or even in some D2 settings, probably not as big of a deal, but in D1 settings, you're dealing with, by and large, public taxpayer funded institutions. And so, yes, you've got a lot of revenue coming in to these universities. And in some cases, the money is separate, from the academic side to the athletic side, but I'm sure that there's some commingling in there. And then you've got a situation where, okay, we have all these new employees. Any of these, salaries that we're now paying these quote unquote employees coming from any kind of the taxpayer dollars that come to help fund these universities. And then that opens up a whole extra can of worms. We don't think about that a whole lot. You don't think about Kansas State football, KU basketball, like the programs like that. The university itself is a public university, taxpayer subsidized in a lot of cases. So that does open up another can of worms.
It does. But if you're Joe Public, I mean, would you rather... do you think that money is any better or worse spent for the actual well-being of the university on star athletes or administrators?
Depends on who you ask. Depends on who Joe Public is.
Yep. Think about Joe Public. Not, I agree. Yeah, maybe it's 50-50, but if you're just from a business perspective, having Reggie Bush at USC when he was there was probably the most beneficial person to campus that exists. Nick Saban there's been no individual probably from a monetary perspective that's had a bigger impact on their university, I would guess, than Nick Saban's had on Alabama in his time there. Right. So, if you have Johnny Manziel, you don't think that benefited A&M financially? So if you got to pay him to be there versus, XYZ, I mean, that's what I mean. So I just think this is interesting today because I do think that the best thing for all parties is the NIL piece, because again, then it at least doesn't cost the university direct dollars and cents. It may cost them, because they can't allocate it somewhere else or whatever from a donor. But man, if you can get away with that, a little revenue sharing that's based on the actual revenue from a TV contract and like a video game or whatever, I think there's something to that. But that's out there. We'll dig into that just a little bit and try to get a little bit more insight on it. I just saw that pop up, so I wanted to get that through. Hey, on our way out of here, the first segment, let's give away some HTO. First caller right now to the IHOP hotline at 869-1240 will get a free iced tea, more than 25 flavors, good for Wichita East or West or in Derby, and a free reign coffee card that's good for Derby and Wichita East. A lot of teacher appreciation orders coming in, something to think about as well. You could give one of those cards to a teacher you love or whatever you want to do. But first caller right now to the IHOP hotline, 869-1240. Get your hands on those. We'll be back. More Sports Daily right after this. All right, welcome back in, everybody, here to Sports Daily. Wichita State coaches shows are tonight. Coach Brian Green of Wichita State Baseball at 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock, it's Christy Breadbinner, the softball program there. You can catch them both right here on KFH or for free on the Odyssey app. Welcome back in. Congratulations to Earl for winning our HTO giveaway today. Tommy, I've been on a little bit of a heater betting-wise. Like, it's been good. And, I don't know what in particular. I think some long odds bets when ESPN Bet does their boosters has helped a little bit, but it's been more about just kind of picking baseball winners to some degree. I haven't looked at the full slate completely tonight. I usually start with, I go to the Royals and I go to the Rangers and I see what they're doing. They're both minus money tonight. I've put them together plenty, and that wouldn't be a bad idea tonight with the Royals, with Cole Reagans on the mound. Royals and Rangers right now together will get you plus 190, so just under 2-1. I might take a swing. I'll have to dig in a little bit. Have you been betting much lately?
Really, outside of the Salvi MVP bet that I placed over the weekend, I haven't done a whole lot. I feel like I'm going to probably get more into it as the summer rolls on. I tend to try to not do a lot in the first month or so of the baseball season, just because I kind of want to see I want to get a little bit of action before I start to bet. And when you start betting at the very beginning of the year, you have no idea. You're just kind of taking shots in the dark on different things. So I feel like as the month of May progresses, once we get into the summertime, yeah, there's probably going to be more baseball bets to come.
It's been fun. We'll keep doing that for you and let you know. The Mariners have made me a little bit of money. They got plus money in a lot of that Astros series, so I've been kind of on them a little bit. They've got Luis Castillo at minus 120. I guess maybe I'll do a Rangers, Mariners, Royals, and of course I couldn't bet the Royals and the Rangers at the same time when they were playing each other. I won't let you know which way I was betting that for the most part, but I'll remind you that I've been on a little bit of a heater. So you could put those three together as money line winners tonight. They're all favored. You get you plus 431. That might be what I play tonight. Why not? NBA. I'm just not good at it, Tommy. I'm not. Like I don't have a good feel for it. I just am. It's not my jam to try and bet the NBA. I've never been good at it, like at all. So I don't bet too much of the NBA. I kind of leave that one alone. Maybe futures bets or whatever, but we're playing baseball here.
Yeah, I probably won't jump into NBA playoff betting until maybe the conference finals. That's probably at that point where, because I'll be the first to admit I'm not some NBA expert at all. And so once we get into those finals in both conferences, yeah, then at that point I feel like I could probably feel confident enough to know in what I'm betting, but until then, probably not.
Okay, let's talk a little Chiefs, because why not? Why wouldn't you talk a little Chiefs? We've kind of started to hear from some of the players. The rookies are in there. As the dust settles on this draft and we look at what the Chiefs did, what do you think the chances are that Worthy and the tackle out of BYU are both impact meaningful players this year? I think I'm starting to think we might be putting a little too much expectation on these two, just a little bit, because we like the way the Chiefs draft fell. We do. Like I don't know enough about like trying to grade linemen, but I like Worthy. Worthy's a player I liked in college, and so I don't know. I feel like we're maybe shooting a little too high with their immediate impacts here.
That happens a lot. You get high round draft picks. And then on top of that, in today's social media age, you've got all these videos from the team and they're showing Mahomes throwing to Worthy.
Like drop a pass or something.
And
people are freaking out.
And then they're talking to the new offensive lineman. How do you say his name? It's like Sua Mateo. We'll figure it out.
Sure.
But you see him and getting to know these players and all of that. It's really easy to get overconfident in the impact that they're going to make right away. Do I think that these players will eventually make large contributions to this team? Sure, I absolutely do. But I'm not sure it's going to be week one in the regular season. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Wanya Morris starts week one at left tackle. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they take the same sort of direction with Xavier Worthy that they took with Rashee Rice last year, where he really doesn't start to get a larger role in the offense until midway through the season. Like that's kind of the way that I anticipate this. So I do think that it's really important that as we go through the workouts and then we go through training camp, we go through the preseason, all of that, that we don't get ahead of ourselves in the development of these two players. Their ceilings are both really high. Don't get me wrong.
Well, sure.
But do we think that it's going to be in week one? Probably not.
I think realistic expectations could be that they get their left tackle. I think that's within the realm of possibilities. I think for Worthy, it's more about he becomes a useful gadget player for the team this year. Like take shots, design plays for him. I really do think they took him to replace Hollywood Brown after this year. Because if you were thinking about his pick as like a Rashee Rice backup plan or a potential Kelsey replacement even, or what he does for the offense, that's not Worthy. Worthy to me feels like he's the project guy. He's the guy that they really need next year, not this upcoming season, but the season after to be the guy. Because He'll help take the tops off defenses. Don't get me wrong, and he may end up lining up as a third receiver in 11-man personnel, but in 11 personnel where you have 3 wide receivers. I don't think that, like, if you're trying to imagine what impact Rashee Rice had last year, I think that's the wrong way to look at that pick. I don't think that's happening. If it does, I mean, that's fantastic, but it feels more like he's going to take his real role in 2 years. And so I hope that everybody doesn't put too much of a pressure on him. I mean, I'm going to ask you this, and it's not even tongue in cheek. What do you think the chances are that either of Kadarius Toney or Sky Moore has more catches this year for the Chiefs than Xavier Worthy? I think there's a decent chance of that.
I'm not going to go that far. I do think that they will try to find ways to loop in Worthy as the season goes on, especially mid to late. And I don't have any kind of expectations whatsoever on Toney or Moore. I put them both in the same class. I just don't see it happening. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that let me just say this. I think that the Chiefs will prioritize getting touches for Justin Watson over Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore next season. I mean, if you were to ask me, will Justin Watson have more catches than Xavier Worthy? Okay, yeah, I would probably make that bet, but I'm not sure I would do that with Toney or Moore.
Of the wide receivers, so obviously Travis Kelce is not involved here. Then what are the chances a wide receiver not named Worthy has the third most catches, I guess is the way to put it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that if I'm going to rank it, and of course it's all dependent on how long Rashee Rice is out. But let's just assume, let's assume it's a handful of games. I mean, I think it's going to be,
I think it'll be 4.
I think it's going to be Hollywood Brown. It's probably going to be Rashee Rice after that. Then I would probably go Justin Watson at number 3, maybe
even over Worthy now.
Yeah. Maybe Xavier Worthy at 4. And then I would go Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore under that.
I think there's a good chance, and I think that's going to have people a little disappointed if that happens. And I would say that we're not going to get a real evaluation of that pick until after next year, probably. And because I agree, I think the chances of that are moderately high this year of him not being the receiver with the third most catches on this roster, even though he was a first-round pick. Now he could absolutely blow up and be a superstar. I'm not saying that's not possible either. I just don't want, I don't want people to expect too much from that particular player right out of the gates, because I don't think the Chiefs expect that much out of him right out of the gates. I just don't think they do. And I could be reading it wrong, but I doubt it. I doubt it. They just don't need it. They don't really have it in there anyway. Because if Rice is playing in Kelce and Brown, there's your top 3 options. The backs are going to be involved in some capacity. The Chiefs may run, if they don't feel confident at left tackle this year, they're probably going to run 2 tight end sets more often than they're going to run 3 wide receiver sets. And so they're just not going to be a ton of opportunities, I don't think. Now, you talk about shot plays or big plays or things like that. The thing that's kind of scary if you're the opposition, and I think this is why most people thought this pick was really interesting, not because everyone expects, Worthy to blow the doors open. And I'm talking about like the pros now, not just, the fans, is because you really have, well, we'll call it 2. You have 2 now gadgety players that you could use. Not that that's what Worthy's ceiling is, because I don't think that's the case, but I absolutely think he could make a hand this year that way. But between him and Toney, now, if the Chiefs will run formations out there, probably, where both of those guys are on the field. Maybe one of them's in the backfield. You've got Kelce, you've got Rice, you've got Brown out there. Like, it's going to be a little difficult if you got all the motion involved. When there's that kind of speed, that's the part I think that really has, football people salivating about the possibilities, is because if they're all out there at the same time somehow, I don't know how you rank that out. And probably the easy answer is you just better stay on Kelce, because Kelce has a chance to run far more free open this year than he did last year. There's no question about that. Like, Kelce's production this year will probably, it may not go up in catches, but I think his yards are going to go way up. And I think his touchdowns are going to go way up than they did a year ago. I think he's the biggest beneficiary of all of this because last year it was pretty much stop Kelsey, right? Like you just have to stop Kelsey. And so he didn't have any opportunities to run free like he does so well. But you can't do that this year. You double him up and you're trying to leave a corner on Worthy/Hollywood Brown. I don't know that that's enough. You better be able to check those guys at the line, because if you're going single coverage with them burning over the top.
But what would you rather have? I mean, would you rather have a, potential low percentage deep ball to, Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy that may or may not hit?
I'll tell you, those low percentage deep balls get a little more high percentage now with Hollywood Brown than they did MVS. There's no doubt about that.
I get it, but I mean, regardless, like they're still not high percentage catches. It doesn't matter, who you've got. You could have Jerry Rice down there catching the football, and there's just a lot of other factors that go into a 40, 50-yard pass play over the top to Worthy or Hollywood Brown. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'm still probably going to try to double Kelsey because that's a more guaranteed, like that's going to be a first down every time. And he might break one off, especially if I'm not, doubling him or whatever. I may still just like cross my fingers and take that risk of having one of those two receivers beat me over the top.
I don't think I would. I don't know, man.
You'd rather just let Kelsey beat you. It's like death by 1,000
it's
paper
not
cuts.
that it's obviously not that you're letting Kelsey beat you, but if you've got the explosive element now back to this Chiefs offense, and look, I don't think their defense will be as good as it was last year, but if you took that same Chiefs defense with any of the explosive offenses of years past, I don't know what you're supposed to do, right? I don't know. I don't know how teams are going to defend this. Now, the big key to all of it, obviously, is where the second round pick comes in. You're not taking deep shots if you don't have time to take the deep shot. So that's why I think the pressure is far higher there on the offensive line than it is the wide receiver room. Let's go to the IHOP hotline. Fred on the line wants to chime in. Hey, Fred, welcome into Sports Daily. How are you?
Hi, guys. I just have a comment and then a question to follow it. The comment is, in my opinion, Worthy is not a gadget player. I've watched film of him running routes, and with his ability to run routes coupled with his speed, he's going to play. And the statistics that he has for running back punts, not kickoffs, but punts, are outstanding. They're going to use him to run back punts.
Don't misunderstand real quick, Fred. I'm not saying he's a gadget player, by the way. I think the Chiefs could use him that way this year. I don't think ultimately he's McCole Hardman. I think he's a far better prospect. So don't miss it. I'm just talking about this year. I think they could use him that way.
But my point is, with his abilities, the exhibited abilities, and that's the real issue. Have you watched any of the film on him?
I actually, like, of all the receivers in the draft, I probably watched him more than anybody because I watched Big 12 football. So I saw a lot of Worthy. Yeah, he was one of my favorite players to watch in college football. I love Worthy. I think he's awesome. But I have to be careful because I also loved Quentin Johnston because I watched the most of him. So that's not fair either. Like, I watch Big 12 football. So, I'm biased to Big 12 football players. There's no question about that. Do I think he's better than Marvin Harrison Jr.? Of course not. No, I mean, anybody with eyes can see the appeal of Marvin Harrison Jr. But I do I like Worthy the player. I like him a lot. I love the pick. I just don't know that I want people to understand like what's already on the roster. I'm not sure what kind of opportunities he's going to have. And I think they're going to create plays for him. I think it'll be more of that this year than anything else.
Then I'd like for you guys to talk a little bit more about Zammit is his Reese Zammit, the rugby player. His running ability. I've seen him on rugby, playing rugby, but his top end speed is outstanding, and I think they're going to use him to run back kickoffs with the new kickoff rules. And so he's going to be, I think, make the 53-man squad. So, and he could well be a good receiver. I don't hold him out as a running back so much because I don't think he has the experience to do that. at all.
Yeah,
as a real
yeah.
running back. But
Kicks will be interesting. I'm glad you brought up kickoffs because I was going to wonder if Worthy would be an option there too. I don't know anything about Zamet other than he's a good story because he's a rugby player, right? Like I don't know how they're going to use a rugby player. He's a rugby player. I'll take a rugby player though, an athletic rugby player. Heck yeah.
He's a world-class athlete, and
that's what I'm saying.
You might think about Steele as running back kickoffs if he makes a change.
I kind of like the idea of Zamet, but rugby's very different. It's not quite as high-end explosive, so I don't know, but it's a good story is what I'll tell you about Zamet. I hope he makes the roster because we appreciate the call, by the way, Fred. I think it's a fun story. I have like zero expectations though with it, Tommy. I don't expect anything out of Zamet. I don't even expect him to make the team. I don't know.
If he does, I mean, it's a fun story. It's something that we'll follow, and yeah, I think there is some legitimacy to the fact that the kickoff rules are going to be different, and so
I'm so excited about them. By the way,
this could very well be a situation where Brett Veach and Andy Reid are playing chess while everybody else they're playing checkers with the kickoff rule. Time will tell. I don't know. I mean, we'll see if he makes the roster.
It could have been a factor in the Worthy pick. It could have been a factor in the Worthy pick. Look, if their special teams is great, if they have another special teams weapon. That this year, that's going to help them win. I think they've done a lot of things that they would not normally do to push all their chips in for this season. They don't normally do that. The Chiefs don't, historically. I think they're doing it a little bit more this year, and I think the draft falling the way it did probably tells you that. I think that that Worthy can help them in a few different ways, maybe than traditional first-round wide receivers do, quite frankly. But we'll see. It's fun. Kingsley there. Kingsley, we're going to take a shot at this, and I've not heard them say it yet. So it's a little Sua Mataya is how I read it. So I think that's right. But, he's the guy I think that probably has a little more pressure to step up right away because his area of need is, I think, a little bit higher at the moment. We'll come back. Your thoughts, 869-1240. That IHOP hotline open for one more segment. More Sports Daily right after this.
97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Don't sweat a swing and miss thanks to insurance tokens from BetMGM. Add an MLB wager to your bet slip and activate your bet insurance token. If your bet with the token applied doesn't hit, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets up to a specified maximum amount. So that's another chance to step up to the plate and bet on the action out there on the diamond. Baseball is America's national pastime, and BetMGM's favorite pastime is making the sport even more amazing for fans. Whether you want to bet on a no-run first inning, try a signature bet, or take a home run prop, BetMGM has a loaded lineup for all 9 innings, all season long. Go to your BetMGM account today to claim your bet insurance token and get your stake back in bonus bets if your MLB wager using the token doesn't win. Only at BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks and official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for the T's and C's. 21 and older only, Kansas only. Existing customer offer subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
I'm attorney Tyler Patterson. Big rig accidents can be devastating, causing big injuries and even death. Special laws apply to these types of accidents. If you've been hurt by a big rig, call Patterson Legal Group today. Our experienced team will fight to get you the compensation you deserve. In a wreck, need a check? Call us today.
Patterson Legal is the way to go. Call 550-0000.
Come and enjoy a free birthday boil at Hook and Reel. Valid only with a minimum of a 2 entree purchase, proof of ID, and also valid 3 days before and 3 days after birthday. Located in Town East Parking Lot, East Kellogg.
Your garage door is the largest piece of moving equipment in your home. When it needs help, call the experts at Overhead Door Company of Wichita. Their certified technicians repair all brands of doors and openers. And you can even schedule evening and weekend service. Just call 316-944-DOOR and always look for the red ribbon. It's your assurance you've got the genuine, the original Overhead Door. The most trusted garage door in Wichita for 20 years. For same-day service, schedule online at ohdwichita.com. or call 316-944-DOOR.
Vask Footwear has delivered functional, durable footwear to millions of outdoor enthusiasts since 1964. We believe that you don't have to go far to change your perspective. By simply stepping outside, we can change how we feel on the inside. When we disconnect, we reconnect. Vask Footwear, comfortable trail footwear for the entire family. You'll find an amazing selection at Red Wing Shoes. Shop today at 6600 West Kellogg. Vask, log outside.
Hey, Renee, what sandwich did you bring me today?
Well, first, I want you to tell me what you think.
I can taste garlic butter and Parmesan.
Okay, what else?
That's melted Swiss cheese on grilled sourdough.
That's right. It's our new garlic Parmesan chicken melt. I brought you the grilled. I'm having the crispy.
The cheese melts right into the chicken.
That's why we call them chicken melts.
Garlic Parmesan chicken melts. That's why you say
Freshness made to order. Spangles, you just taste better.
the weather is warming up and Spangles has a new thirst-quenching margarita. The Jolly Rancher Watermelon Margarita. This bold, fruity flavor will be your new go-to cocktail. It's Spangles' signature margarita mixed with the most popular flavor of Jolly Rancher, watermelon. The new Spangles Jolly Rancher Watermelon Margarita, where cocktails just taste better. Spangles reminds you to please drink responsibly.
Freshness made to order. Spangles, it just tastes better.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6812. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6812. That's 800-575-6812. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Thank you, Wichita, for making Sports Daily the #1 sports talk on late morning radio. Wichita's most listened to sports radio. 97.5 and 1240 KFH.
Dude, you gotta hear this.
Go ahead. I think I want to hear this.
Sports Daily is on KFH.
All right, welcome back in, everybody. One more reminder, big series begins tonight for the Kansas City Royals taking on the Brewers. We'll join that game in progress after we get through the coaches' shows. Man, I love it, Tommy. I love this series. I think I'm going to attack it. I think I'm going to go with the Royals tonight, and I think I'm going to put him with a couple others. But just on the surface, this is a big chance at home. It should be good, and we get Reagan's. Watching Reagan starts, like, are you back all the way in, like everything's fine and dandy and everything with Reagan's, or are you still like, I just kind of need to see one more? He went up against Barrios twice and took him down.
Yeah, so. I'm back to feeling really good about Cole Reagan's, and I think him being able to start off this series is really important for Kansas City. One quick note, and I just sent this to you: the Royals did just announce the game is moving up 30 minutes, so the start time will be at 6:10 tonight. They're trying to get out in front of the weather. It looks like, the Kansas City Metro is under the gun also, but later tonight is kind of when they're anticipating the storms rolling in. So I think they're trying to get the game done before that line that will impact, Wichita and Oklahoma City and all of that moves to the east and impacts Kansas City. So, we'll still join the game in progress after the coaches shows. It'll probably be later in the game though, since they're starting it at 6:10.
Okay. Well, there you go. I wondered about the weather there, but yeah, Reagan's will go against the Brewers, who have been really good. This is going to be a fun series, and it'll be, if you're if you're hunkering down, if you don't have anything, you'll be able to get that battery powered radio Tommy was talking about and listen to it on KFH. You'll catch probably the back third of the game if I had to guess, but it's there for you. We'll have it always on the Odyssey app, and you can always catch it on the Odyssey app too if you want to tune in for that as well. We'll tell you what else is on. We'll get you all caught up on everything what you can expect the rest of the day as we wrap up Sports Daily right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. That does it for us here today. Quick reminder, you've got Wichita State coaches shows at 6 and 7 o'clock. We'll join the Royals in progress at 8. Infinity Sports Network programming, plus Bob and Jeff locally from 2 to 4 today. Got it all covered. Stay weather aware out there, everybody. Keep all the apps, everything handy. Tune in, listen in, make sure you're in a safe place and plan around it. It sounds like it's going to be a very dangerous day. Not just one of those storm days, but a really big one that we've got to watch. All right, that'll do it. For Tommy and Chad, I'm Jacob. We'll see you tomorrow.